Boys and girls, we're back. I hope once again your day has been fantastic. We're just going to do a little more reading and talk about one of Jesus' really unique miracles, which he is only recorded here in the Gospel of John. So we're in chapter 2. I am so excited. We're finally in chapter 2. Starting in chapter 2, verse 1, John writes, "On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, 'They have no more wine.' Jesus said, 'Dear woman, why do you involve me? My time has not yet come.' His mother said to the servants, 'Do whatever he tells you.' Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, 'Fill the jars with water.' So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, 'Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet.' They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, 'Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best until now.' This, the first of his miraculous signs, Jesus performed at Cana in Galilee. He thus revealed his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him." It's a very complex, but also a very simple narrative, which is basically a really big word for story. Jesus is talking about here in the first part of chapter 2. Essentially, what happens is a host is hosting a wedding, and one of the main staples at a Jewish wedding was wine. So everyone drunk. There's no more wine left. And the host, looking at his clock, realizes the party is not yet over. Oh my goodness, this is going to be embarrassing. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. This is not a good thing. There's no more wine left. Jesus' mother quickly approaches Jesus. She knows this fellow's special. She knows that Jesus has this ability to make sure that dishonor and shame does not come on the host. And that's one of the main reasons why this miracle is really important. We look at it, we're like, okay, yeah, they could have just bought more wine. But essentially, what this miracle is saying is Jesus had so much care and compassion for this host. He was going to do a miracle, and even when he says here in verse 4, "My time is not yet come," he was going to do a miracle despite that, because he did not want dishonor and shame to be brought on this host. Essentially, what Jesus does is he does something that costs him so someone else might benefit. That's essentially the definition of love. Jesus, in the first 11 verses of chapter 2, goes out of his way to love somebody else. This week, I hope there's an example in your own life when you've gone out of your way, you said something, you've done something unexpected, maybe something great, maybe something even small, that's designed to love somebody else. And my hope is that you can, after I'm done this devotion, you can say, yeah, I did A, B, and C. Those were great things, and people really appreciated that. But if you're having trouble thinking of something, if you're thinking, well, Brad, I really don't know what I've done this week, then this hopefully is a wake-up call to say that our lives aren't designed just to live for ourselves. Our lives aren't designed always to be these normal, ordinary, go-through-the-motion type things. We're often called on, as Jesus is here, to break out of that pattern and do something great, which may cost us, but to someone else doesn't have to receive dishonor, shame, and they can be lifted up. Jesus' miracles are very important. We're going to look at throughout the entire Gospel of John many of Jesus' miracles. And the reason why they're so important is because they authenticate who Jesus says who he is. Jesus claims many times he's, throughout the Gospel, we haven't quite heard it yet, but he will, to be this special one, this Son of God, this I am. He claims many times in John. He claims to be the great shepherd, the bread of life, all this stuff. And John really makes it important to make sure that those claims are verified. So Jesus essentially here claims is one of these people who is designed and its purpose, and he has all these disciples who have followed him. And so what does he do? He backs up these claims. He backs up calling these disciples by doing a miracle. They're like, wow, we followed this Jesus. He's able to perform this miracle in a loving way, not to put dishonor on this host. Later on, we're going to see so much that what Jesus does is his miracles are designed, A, to make life better for people, but B, also to make sure that people understand and it's verified that who Jesus is. This guy is something special, sent by God. And later on, we're going to find out that he truly is God. And so that's the thing. It's really simple. Christians also need to do the exact same thing, that we need to do things in our lives to make sure that people know who we are. We need to have our actions that back up what we believe. We need to go make sure we attend worship, make sure we're kind to people, we're praying, we're in the Word. Because if Jesus walked through his entire ministry, just said, hey, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, I'm the Son of God, the bread of life, the good shepherd, everyone's like, okay, yeah. He says all this stuff, but he isn't doing anything to back it up. And so that's essentially the first of many things, that Jesus doing something to back up his big claims. Hopefully we learned a little bit. I'll be back later. I want you all to have a Merry Christmas.